guys, it's Nikki here, your not so spooky, dark or vampiric today. Today I'm bringing back a format I loved watching back in the day when I had just discovered watercolors. Back then, 70% of what my eyes saw on YouTube were art supply reviews, artists testing new materials, painting portraits and making us all go completely broke trying to buy every single pretty watercolor paint out there. God, I miss those times. The slow pace of that content, people just sharing their art and their heart, I really miss it, and most of my favorite artists aren't even posting on YouTube anymore. Yeah, so many things have changed. So I really love to bring a bit of that cozy energy into my videos. I hope I can take you to a soothing, peaceful place today. We'll just chat a bit about paints and art. Lately, I've been painting endlessly with my dreamy Holbein gouache, so it's finally time for a comparison between them and a much cheaper set Arteza. Arteza Gouache was actually my first set ever, and I used them for, well, off and on since maybe a year after I started painting with watercolor. Wait, let's say I've had them for quite a while now. Anyway, it always felt a bit intimidating to paint a portrait using only those. Arteza Gouache isn't bad though. It behaves pretty nicely for the price. Of course, it's not as smooth as Holbein or Sheehan. They feel a bit more grainy, not really buttery. I've always used them dried down in the palette. Some colors like yellow ochre need a bit more water to reactivate, while others are easier. Oh, by the way, just a quick note, I'm using Schmincke Titanium White. They mix well and look nice on paper, but they aren't super pigmented. And when I dilute them, I really don't love their transparency. I don't think you can use them heavily watered down the way you can with higher-end brands. Holbein almost looks like watercolors when thinned out, but not those. I do love the peach red, it's so bright and neon, but the only violet in my set, which is mauve, has a weird consistency. You can feel the binder. It's not slimy exactly, but slippery. You can genuinely feel the low concentration of pigment in that one. If I try to paint a flat wash, it gets streaky, even with 2 coats. The color is fantastic, in theory, but whenever I used it, it looked a bit dull and flat. And speaking of that, here's a quick comparison with Sheehan's Violet. I've swatched some other colors too, so you can see just how muted the Artezas are compared to Sheehan and Holbein. So, overall, it really depends on what you're looking for. The final result isn't bad, just a bit subdued, not super vibrant. By the way, these Arteza paints are actually pretty hard to find nowadays anyway, so I don't even think it's worth hunting them down to buy them. Honestly, I think they're still better than Himi Jolly Gouache though. I remember watching every single comparison video out there back in the 2020 when I first decided to buy a set, but since I've never personally tested the Himi ones, I can say for sure. Fun fact though, after all this time the paint in the Arteza tubes is still wet and I still have a ton of it. If I have to rate them, I'd give them 6 out of 10. The color selection is very pretty and they reactivate fairly well. The actual painting experience can be a bit underwhelming, but with the proper paper, they can look really nice. Let me show you what I painted with them last year. I was waiting for my Holbein set to arrive in the mail, and I did a portrait study every single day on caddy paper using them. In this portrait I used a ton of peach red, which is just a fancy way of saying neon pink. Even that one dulls down a bit, so my highlights and accents ended up a little bit muted too. And that pink was the only tint that brightened up the portrait a bit, otherwise it would have just looked very boring. A great help in getting that satin look is the Schmincke Titanium White, which I bought because I was so disappointed with the two whites provided in the set. So maybe a good white can really help smooth out your cheap paints. The two whites in the set were low pigment. The hair looks so smooth because I added a bit of white. I never use straight black. Plus, I didn't even have it in my palette. So I mixed a dark blue and a sepia to reach that neutral. For me, the most important thing is to enjoy the painting process. It is my presence portal, and the lower rating I gave is only due to the level of enjoyment I get while painting with them. In the HDR videos, everything looks brighter, but in real life, these colors are duller. In the portraits I showed you before, the colors were so much more vivid because it was a monochromatic study and no mixes besides white were involved. But when mixed together, they tend to lose their clarity. Oh, I almost forgot. This is an attack I painted for Art Fight. The character is Yui's Madness, Yui Chiro, and he's created by an Italian artist. This was my 11th attack. My initial goal was to do 10, so I happily surpassed my goal. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel to see more content like this. Thank you so much for being here, it means the world to me. Okay, bye!